Morning, David. Morning, Brian. Morning, Hugh. Morning, Dunk. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Duncan. Morning, John. Morning, Neil. Morning, Karen. Morning, Ian. Morning, Robert. Morning, Doug. Morning, Linda. Morning, Tina. Morning, Margaret. Morning, Steve. Morning, Barbara. Morning, Karen. Morning, Peter. Morning, Eddie. Morning, Big Ray. Morning, Evelyn. Morning, John. Morning, Fiona. Morning, Mr. E. Morning, Stephen. Almost there. I missed anybody? Probably. Morning, Joe. Morning, Lenny. Morning, Lorraine. Morning, Ali. Right, that's us up there, the 100 mark. We've got a lot to get through the day, so we better motor on. It's in the truck, Davey, out the truck, and at home, in his house, in his office, in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is a gorgeous morning. I can't highlight that enough, but bloody hell, it's cold. It really is cold. Let's say 4 degrees. I took Sarah to work this morning, it was just above freezing. Weather's starting to get where it should be for this time of year. So that's your weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look at the bloody windy. Alright, let's get this review underway. It's for the 15th of 11th, 2022. Better know you and I as yesterday. The Tuesday started with a mixed bag in the rags. The Herald goes on, notorious Holocaust denier is arrested in Fishing Village. Fishing Village in Fife, actually. The Scotsman goes with Buckfast sales surge in first year of price sales, minimum unit pricing. Buckfast come down the first year, rocketed since apparently. The record goes on, Samra's lawyer suspended. Gordon Jackson QC suspended for talking about the Alex Salmon case on a train from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Anyway, you can appeal it. The loony right-wing rag, the Daily Fail, goes on baubles offered to restless natives. Russia's $4 billion warship boosts for the Clyde. The Telegraph are stoking the GRA argument. They say Scotland set to ease path to trans surgery. It also goes on Buckfast sales. The Times has Sunak will help tourists by boosting minimum wage. A lot of crap, of course. As we know, budgets are always smoke and mirrors. If he's going to raise the minimum wage, you can bet your boots he's going to drop back on other taxes. The other loony gammon rag, the Express. Russia gets it, pensioners at forefront of my mind. I bet they are. I bet he's wondering how to con them. And the I has Starmer raised tax for Amazon and non-doms and not over earners. The National has Baroness gets 15k for just 34 days in Lords. That's with the tank commander. And the Metro goes on, sickening. War memorial vandalised in Edinburgh. And the Star says we're running short of eggs. Okay, moving on. We'll start down that road, okay. In the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers. Tuesday, and the FTA union, which represents civil servants, said there should be reforms in complaints procedures. David Penman of the FTA says reforms are necessary because of the drip feed over ministers' behaviour. Now it comes to light after the William Sir what's his bloody name again? Gavin Williamson's bullying in the Ministry of Defence. And for good measures, Dominic Raab, Deputy Prime Minister's behaviour towards his staff is also coming into the limelight. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was questioned about Raab's behaviour on the Chris Moon interview for the BBC. Rishi Sunak says he is unaware of any formal complaints against the Deputy PM. Lord MacDonald told the Radio Times that Raab had created an atmosphere of fear at the Ministry of Justice when he was Justice Secretary under Bojo the Clown. The PM, who was in Bali at the G20, was constantly asked about the behaviour of the Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab. Mr. Rooney stuck to the line that he was unaware of any formal complaints against Mr. Raab. Breaking news this morning. 2 formal complaints are out there against Mr. Raab. Moving on Tuesday down that road. Well, technically in Bali, actually, the G20, Rishi Sunak urges Russia to get out of Ukraine. While Rishi Rich is making his demands, Russia launched massive missile strike against the Ukrainian cities. Not a comfortable time for Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who is standing in for no-show Putin at the G20. Moving on Tuesday, down that road, speculation over Hunt's fiscal statement continues. Tax rises and cuts to public services. Which are so what's in the Chancellor's site? What's he looking at? Still taxes. He's also looking to raise income tax, or it's likely to be frozen to 2028, which is just the same as a raise because of the state of the economy. They also reckon that the 45 pence in the pound rate limit is likely to drop to 150,000 to 125,000 for their salaries. So the limit at which the highest tax band will come into effect will drop from 150,000 to 125,000. Okay. Energy bills. He's likely to target at the lowest income families. And for the rest of us, it's sink or swim. Windfall taxes. He's likely to revisit the issue. Social care. Down that road. Council tax to rise down the road to cover the costs. Triple lock in pensions and uplift for benefits. Speculation they will rise pensions by the RPI. We're not quite sure about benefits yet. Capital gains tax likely to stay the same. Corporation tax likely to rise. Alcohol, tobacco duty and fuel duties are also likely to rise. But this is all speculation. Cuts, where will the cuts hit? Well, figures from 2010 to now tells us which departments have been cut to the bone. All right, since 2010, health spending is up 25%. Since 2010, home office spending up 19%. Since 2010, education spending down 2.5%. Since 2010, defence spending down 7%. Since 2010, justice spend down 22%. Since 2010, where you get this one, talk about this erosion of the safety net. Since 2010, working pension spend down 50%. Wow. And since 2010, housing and community spend down 61%. The most of these are figures apply in England, of course, but when we talk about where the cuts are going to come, well, there's only really health spending and the Home Office that's had budget increases over the last 10 years. So you'd imagine they're going to get smacked. But everything else is done. Can I see how they can hit a benefit claimants any harder? I really can. I mean, spending on the safety net over the last 12 years is down 50%. Oft. People on benefits are now living 50% less than what they were in 2010. Mental. And housing and community spend down 61%. So I can't see how they can smack that budget anywhere. And they talk about down 61%. They haven't built a bloody house down that road. Not one. The private sector's built. The government's built nothing. Right, so God knows where the cuts are coming, folks. Because that record is atrocious. And with all the cuts done through these years, where's all the bloody money went? When they took out for Labour, the national debt was 800 billion. It's now nearly 2.7 trillion. Where did all the bloody money go? Oof. Right, moving on Tuesday, and Sunak admits the UK's international standing has been damaged by Truss's mini budget. No mention of Brexit, which is the real reason money is fleeing the UK. Investment in manufacturing has stopped. No market to sell into, no point in trying to grow businesses. Investment in financial sectors down 7.6 billion. Housing market crashed. This is a mini budget. With thousands of mortgage products withdrawn from the market. Exports are flatlined. Imports cost more. Inflation at 12%, food inflation at 15%. The UK's international standing's been damaged by Truss's mini budget. Throw in Brexit, the UK's a laughing stock. Wow. Anyway, the UK has trashed its own reputation. After all, when people vote for self-harm, the others run about look and think, let's move away from this lot, they're crazy. Right. Anyway, so, and then we throw in the NI problem that's been created, and that's where we're going next. Speaking of Northern Ireland, James Cleverly was in front of the Westminster Committee as Foreign Secretary. He was asked about the problems created by the NI protocol, and according to James Cleverly, it's all the EU's fault for not giving Little England what they want. The EU is trying to split up the Union and his country, he says. Mr. Cleverly tells the committee the EU is trying to protect the single market and has placed trade barriers between NI and the mainland UK. So let's break that down a wee bit as we try and motor through. All right, let's break that down. This push is the worst form of truth denial I've ever seen in the House of Commons, and I've seen a lot of it. You know, first, Cleverly says it's a union, then he says it's his country. Which is it, Mr. Cleverly? You choose. There is a treaty between the UK and Ireland and Northern Ireland. There's a treaty between Scotland and England. So that would make them unions, not a country. Anyway, and the trade barriers between the UK and Northern Ireland is the EU's fault. Now, if I remember correctly, it was Little England that voted for Brexit, not the EU. Also, if I remember correctly, Lord Frost and Bojo the Clown negotiated the NI protocols. Anyway, the bombshell of the Foreign Affairs Committee came from the Tory chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. They moved on to discuss the Brexit bill, which allows ministers to unilaterally change the NI protocols without interacting with Europe. All right, Mr. Cleverly was asked about the progress of the bill. Mr. Cleverly tells the chair it's in the Lords and will soon be ready for its second reading. The chair then says to Mr. Cleverly, I was in the cabinet when discussing this bill, and we agreed it was a negotiating tool and it was not supposed to reach its second reading. Wow, what's that for a bombshell? So the Brexit bill to allow them to override NI protocol was never meant to make it stage 2. It was there as a lever. Anyway, Mr. Cleverly replies, it is only a negotiating tool, but we intend to see it to fruition in case we can't get our preferred negotiated settlement with the EU. So that Brexit bill that allows them to unilaterally change the NI protocols, which of course they can't. It's an agreement between two. It'd be a breach of international law. It's going forward. And that surprised some of the Tories, because apparently it wasn't meant to make it past the first reading, or it wasn't meant to make it to the second reading. So it looks like the Cabinet's been pulling the wool over party members. Okay, right, moving on. Tuesday, and Tory MP apologises to Commons after telling Labour frontbenchers to shut up. In a debate about ex-PM and ex-Chancellor receiving thousands in severance pay after crashing the economy and being forced to leave office in under 50 days. One was sacked, the other one was forced to leave. Tory MP for a County Durham constituency, Sedgefield, Paul Howell, tells Shadow Minister Sarah Owens to shut up and stop chirping, or stop chirping and shut up. He apologised to the chair right away and withdrew the remark. Anywho, the outcome of the debate: severance pay is statutory, apparently. It is, but only if they make 50 days in office. It would appear the rules have been bent for this lot. Or was that 50 days in office to get her or Prime Minister's pension. Either way, she's getting both severance pay and Prime Minister's pension. Absolutely outrageous. Right, moving on. Tuesday, back here in Scotland, the Scottish Government crap story that started the day in the Pravda was minimum unit pricing for alcohol. A study by Public Health Scotland showed the alcohol prices in supermarkets increased by 18% when minimum unit alcohol pricing was introduced, bringing supermarkets more or less in line with corner stores. And supermarket prices, as I say, so corner stores and supermarkets are more or less selling their booze at the same price now because of minimum unit pricing. Now, the study showed for a short period in the first year of minimum unit pricing, some drinks got cheaper, like Buckfast and Alco Pops, but that didn't last long, folks. The price shot up. It also showed that people changed what they were drinking and that people bought less. So you could say that's a bit of success. Anyway, commenting on a report, Public Health Scotland Chief Executive Alison Douglas said increased costs is a good way to go. We try to cut the amount of alcohol consumption in Scotland, just price people to be able to afford it. Right, on to a new book. Right, 15th to the 11th, 2022, we're on, and moving on Tuesday, and here in Scotland, the Holyrood Equalities, Human Rights and Civil Justice Committee is sitting. On the agenda is the Gender Recognition Reform Bill. The committee is scrutinising the length of time you should live in your chosen gender before you can apply for a Register General for Scotland's certificate. The Register General for Scotland will take over responsibility for these things from the UK panel once this bill is passed. Now, the SNP and Tories proposed 3 months for over 18s and 6 months for 16 and 17-year-olds. Maggie Chapman of the Greens opposed the different time scales for the over 18s and the 16 and 17-year-olds. Ms Chapman tells the committee the different scale of time for when 16 and 17-year-olds can apply for a gender certificate and 18s and overs can apply for a gender certificate is bloody hypocrisy. Because here in Scotland, we have deemed that our young are adults at 16, and that's why we give them the vote. They can join the army, they can work, they can pay taxes. So why should it be different for gender recognition? It's a hard one, that one, actually. It really is. Miss Chapman has a point. At the same time, we know that medical evidence shows that young people brains are still forming up to the age of 25. So it is a difficult one. Anyway, Conservative MSP Ross Finlay lays an amendment on sex offenders trying to get gender change certificate. All right, the amendment was knocked back as other sections in the bill and other amendments cover the issue. Now, the Scottish Government is to introduce new offences into the justice system to cover fraudulent gender certificate applicants. The bill will now move to its second reading. Now, as you know, folks, I haven't paid much attention to this. I'm quite open to people recognising themselves for whatever they want to be. You want to be a fence post, be a fence post. You want to be a cabbage, be a Liz Truss. You know, I really, I'm really not equipped to deal with this one, to be honest with you. What I do is I'm a Democrat, so look at a public support for these things. And public support for this particular bill is riding about 66%. Party member support for it's riding about 66%. The young overwhelmingly support the gender recognition reform bill. But as I say, I'm not equipped for it. I really know. But how I look at this one is I'm a Democrat. And if the majority of people think it's a good idea, then the majority rules in democracies. Simple as that. But to be honest with you, it's no one I've been following closely. Anyway, apparently somebody was wearing a suffragette scarf in the place and she was kicked out incorrectly and the presiding officer had to apologise for it. As I say, it's not something that I've been paying much attention to, but it was a big story yesterday. Okay. Right, moving on Tuesday. Well, moving on Tuesday, an ex-MP and convicted embezzler, Natalie McGarry, is back in the news. Prosecutors are looking to recover $162,000 from her in proceeds of crime. $162,000. I take it the costs for the courts must be in there, because I think it was only $25,000 she embezzled out of two groups. Anyway, a hearing on proceeds of crime was stood down on Tuesday as the sheriff was unavailable. It would have been stood down anyway, and a new process of crime hearing to take place in January. And that's to allow time for Natalie McGarry to appeal her conviction. So apparently she's applied to have an appeal of her conviction, but it's not been said what the grounds for it are. So the process of crime thing's been kicked into the long grass to January to see if she's going to be allowed to appeal her conviction. Right, moving on Tuesday. And the latest data from Public Health Scotland tells us that only 39% of health care staff have taken up the winter vaccine programme so far. And only 29% of care staff have taken up the winter vaccine programme. All right, it would appear that people are no keen on the latest round of vaccines. Since the programme was rolled out in September, 1,356,639 people have had the flu jab, and 1,369,785 people have had the latest COVID booster. So it looks as if a lot of people have just went, hold on, I've had 3. If that's no enough to give me immunity, they're no bothering them back. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do, folks. Look at the data, make your own mind up. I haven't made my own mind up yet. I've got my notification in, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty sitting on the fence on this one myself. I will probably come down on the side of erring with caution and going to get the vaccines. More or less, I'll be dealt by Sarah, because I'll be taking her to get hers and I'll be dealt to get mine on there. So, but I'm not going to tell you what to do in this one, folks. I'm really not. Look at the data, make your own mind up. Okay. Right, also Tuesday, we've been told that we have been misinformed on Scotland having 25% of Europe's potential renewable offshore wind energy. Interesting thing about the report, it does not tell us if it's more or less than 25%. Now, a new study is underway to determine the accurate figure. So the Scottish Government bad's story, according to the Pravda, is that the numbers are not right on the amount of offshore wind energy we have. And this is according to, and this is the interesting part, this is according to research from the These Islands group, who oppose Scottish independence. So the Scottish Government's rang, pro-independence group correct. Who are they? You ever heard of these people, these islands? Who funds them? What qualifications do the people who do the research have? Why is this in the Pravda? Why is this big news that Scotland hasn't got 25% of offshore wind, renewable, or Europe's resources in offshore wind? Apparently some unknown think tank, who we don't know who did the research, and we don't know who funded them, said the Scottish Government's got their numbers right. So the Scottish Government commissioned a new report to find out if they've got their numbers right. So it's going to cause a public purse, because this unknown think tank, who are no respected, who we don't know who fund, and we don't know who did the bloody research, tells us that we are too wee, too poor, and too stupid to understand our own figures. How did this make this into the news? How did this become a big story? Anyway, I look forward to hearing more on this one. Project Fear is well and truly underway. Renewable potential is crap, according to pro-union think tank. The cuckoos in the nest wear cock a hoop. This think tank says the Scottish government's wrong, and the attack by the cuckoos in the nest started. Now, I smell a rat, don't you? Anyway, Tory MSP Liam Kerr accused ministers of peddling dodgy data. He says civil servants and ministers knew the figures were wrong. Well, apparently we didn't know the figures were wrong until some unheard of pro-union, anti-independence think tank said the figures were wrong. Right, anyway, Labour steered query. They smelt a rat right away. They made absolutely no comment on it. 40-odd% of their Labour supporters in Scotland back independence, so Labour wasn't getting near this one with a barge pole. Let's face it, unknown think tank, don't know who did the research, don't know who's funding them. I dare say I could find out. Tells the Pravda the Scottish government figures are wrong, and all of a sudden it's big news. As I say, but we don't know whether it's more than 25% or less. Anyway, so who else? And the relevant Lib Dem MSP Liam MacArthur also accuses the Scottish government of peddling crap numbers. They all stop short of accusing the Scottish government of misleading the Scottish Parliament. Isn't that interesting? So they make their attacks. But I know of at least 6 people, including the last First Minister, who have made this statement in the Scottish Parliament. I know of 2 MPs who have made a similar statement, not to be corrected, in the Commons. But according to this unknown, unheard of think tank, we'll go to Orang. Right. Tuesday, unemployment figures show that the contraction is starting to feed into the unemployment figures. Unemployment up. Unemployment now at 3.5% in Scotland and 3.6% in our UK. So we're starting to see unemployment keep up, folks. And I expect the speed of layoffs to accelerate over the next couple of quarters. The contraction will speed up and it will really start to felt. The unemployment figures will rise quite quickly for here on in, after we get out of the Christmas bounce, where there's normally seasonal work around. Right, let's move on. Let's take a wee look at what's going on in geopolitics. We've always seen we've got a couple of minutes to spare. Tuesday, Rishi Sunak tries to claim credit for Joe Biden and the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, saying let's give peace a chance, which is comical really, because Xi only agreed to give Sunak a hearing yesterday afternoon as the G20 was coming to a close. So how Sunak could say he was instrumental in getting Xi Jinping and Joe Biden together for a living, I have no idea how that claim could be made in the Pravda. Absolutely nuts. Also Tuesday, Poland struck by a missile. Now, it's interesting this one. Russia launched a barrage of missiles against Ukrainian cities yesterday. Now, it would appear that one went a little wrong. And it strayed over the border into Ukraine, into Poland. Well, apparently that was the story that was being led by yesterday. But as it turns out, this missile was probably fired by Ukrainians, who also have old Russian equipment, because they used to be part of the Soviet bloc. So, American intel is now telling us that it was probably a misfired. What they're telling us is it's a Ukrainian missile that was used to try and strike down a Russian missile, missed its target, and wandered out of the border into Poland, killing 2 people. Now, the initial reports were sent the G20 into a meltdown, actually, and Vladimir Zelensky started demanding that NATO get involved in the war. But of course, Joe Biden and NATO went, hold on a wee minute till we find out what happened here. and it's now believed that it was a Ukrainian missile which was trying to strike down a Russian missile which crossed the border into Poland, killing 2 people. Now, while it wasn't clear that that was the case, the Polish leader, Andrzej Duda, called for calm as he believed the strike was not deliberate. At the time, he thought the strike was probably a missile blown off course or one whose guidance system had went wrong. As I say, now we know it was fired by Ukrainians trying to strike down a Russian missile. All right. Also Tuesday, India and UK agreed 3,000 visas a year for Indian citizens to get the UK-India trade deal back on track. Rishi Sunak agreed the number with the Indian president. Now, I'm not going to try and Murma or something like that. I can't pronounce his second name anyway. Now, I wonder how that'll play out with the right-wing nutters down that road. So, while over at Bali, Sunak agrees 3,000 visas a year for Indian citizens to come to the UK in order to try and get the UK-India trade deal back on and running. Right, and also for Tuesday, just to end in a wee bit of comedy, the Donald throws his hat in the ring to be the Republican candidate for the US presidency in 2024. Will we see a return to the White House for the Trumpster? I hope no. It was a bloody disaster last time. It'll be even worse next time. All right then. Hey, that's what I've got for you today, folks. As I say, it's quite a lot in there, so we need to batter through it. So let's move on to this morning and see what crap's in the rags. And no doubt there will be, so get ready for ranty time. Rags. Right, where we go? Scotland's papers: fear of war, escalation, and Holyrood scarf row. This ought to be funny. The Scotsman has Russian missile kills 2 in NATO member Poland. We know that's not true now. Now, the Times has Russians blamed for fatal strike on Poland. I'm afraid we knew last night that wasn't true. Wow. The Daily Telegraph has Russian missile strikes Poland. It was a Russian missile, but it was fired by the Ukrainians. The Metro has Russian missile hits Poland. The Eye has Putin's war spills into Poland. Not did it. It was a mistake. The Herald has GP surgeries at tipping point as demand exceeds capacity. As I say, PMA survey warning of crisis amidst staff shortfall. Folks, this is fear-mongering crap. I said this yesterday, I'll say it again today. Per 10,000 of population, we have 10.1 GPs and England at 7.6 GPs. So if we're at tipping point, they're past crisis, they're in meltdown. The Scottish Daily Field, the Gammon magazine, has women wearing suffragette scarf is booted out of Scottish Parliament during debate over gender bill. That critics say is a threat to women's rights. Have they completely lost their marbles? It would appear that stoking the gender recognition reform bill fight is the direction that the Telegraph and its sister paper, The Field, has decided to go on. The Daily Record runs with Wild West. Police probe terrifying gang warfare between 2 Lanarkshire crime clans, as videos reveal machete attacks, guns, baseball bats, and disturbing clips of a truck deliberately smashing into a home with children cowering inside. Well, that's no good. The National has Tories refuse to pull false SNP strikes claim. Police listed as taking action, but they can't and have accepted the deal. Conservatives included them in a propaganda poster that's either ignorant or dishonest, says MP. Well, it's going to be dishonest because we all know that emergency services are not supposed to strike. And we know that the police are not allowed to strike. Right, another gammon rag, the Express has $4 billion warship deal shows strength of union. Told you, folks, Yesterday, more baubles. Here, restless natives. Here's $4 billion a year in money to build some ships that are 12 years late. We're supposed to be 12 frigates to start with. In fact, the Clyde was supposed to be turned into a frigate factory, and then it shrank to 5, then it shrank to 3, now it's back up to 8, but it will never materialise. So you want to vote no based on 4.2 billion. Get this into your heads, folks. BAE is a private company. The Clyde's the only place they can build these things in the UK. Crap that they won't buy ships from abroad. We know they're buying the ancillary Navy ships from the Far East. And BAE will decide where these things are built. But more importantly, if the Diddies and the Clyde are too stupid to realise that when Scotland becomes independent, we have to build a whole bloody navy, then they really are thick as mince. Because these are the guys on the Clyde with the talent to do it. So voting for independence would secure their livelihoods and probably their sons and daughters' livelihoods for generations. Because we need to build a navy and maintain a navy. Oh, mental. Hey, and what's the star goat for the day? Shortage of trees threat to Christmas. Yesterday it was eggs, today we're short of trees. You'll need to go for it. And it says get your orders now before they run out. So apparently we running out of Christmas trees. And the Star also runs a false story that Putin bombed the Poles. He didn't. Right, that's what I've got for you today, folks. Some of this stuff today has been pretty hilarious. But the rags in the UK are stoking fear. And just to divert our attention from the fact that we're all hungry, that thousands of us and millions of us are going hungry, millions of us can't heat our homes, millions of us are going to lose our homes, millions of us are going to lose our jobs. So stoking fear of Putin is the order of the day. Okay. Pure diversity crap. Last night, America confirmed that it was actually the Ukrainians that fired the missile, as I say. So stoking fear here in the UK to divert the poor from the fact that they might not survive the winter. Just give them something else they think they won't survive. Right, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Go there to get through. Now, there is a campaign underway, as you can see. Apparently, we're now too poor and too stupid to understand marine resources and marine data. And Bobo, here, the big broad shoulders of the UK will give you 4.2 billion to build 5 warships when you can actually have a lifetime of work building a Scottish Navy. Wow. They really do think we're thick. So what baubles have we been offered so far? A75 upgrade, A96 upgrade. What else have we been offered? 5 new warships to be built in the Clyde. They're not trying really hard at this point in time. At this point in time, they're concentrating on running down the public services, trying to make the people in Scotland believe the crap they say about the Scottish services. I don't know if you've noticed this, folks, but they've been prattling like this ever since the last referendum. Yet we have repeatedly voted in the same administration. Why? Because the evidence of the rise is different from what we hear in the news. Stop listening to the BBC. They're bad for your mental health. Absolutely bad for your mental health. Unfortunately, I've got to rake through this pish, but you don't need to. You can always watch me. Anyway, eyes on the prize. Learn how you go. Get out there and win hearts and minds. We want to change one mind each. All right? And I've changed more than that. So, but those of you who don't make the quota, I'm sure there's a few years I've converted enough to cover you. All right. So, also support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, Independent Live, and the Live Radio, Calgary Media, Truth Radio, the iSpot magazine, and the national newspaper. Support independent bloggers and bloggers. And if they've got a crowdfunder on the go, you've got a couple of shekels to spare, throw them in the pot, because you know we don't want your money. If you like what I do, then share it around. But wait 5 minutes till the broadcast ends, because I need to change the audience from friends and family to public, because Meta has put that restriction on me. I cannot change everything to public anymore. My videos will only go to friends and family until 5 minutes after that, when I can make it bloody public. And if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, bell notification button, hit the like, and you'll get notified when I'm on or when the two Davies are on. Okay. Now, Siobhan Blackcheck's her programme goes live at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Another new voice out there. As far as I know, she's using Zoom. So she's only going to be able to go to Facebook because, if she is going to be using Zoom to get to Facebook, unless she's bought her account, it's not going to, it'll not last long. I think they cut Dave and I after a couple of days, and we could only broadcast into YouTube. That's why we recommended Restream, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe Siobhan's worked it out and David and I couldn't. All right, so keep an eye out for Siobhan's broadcast this afternoon. Okay. Right, where are we? Remember the last couple of bits of guidance. Winter's coming in. It's getting bloody cold now. So, mask up in the closed public spaces. Clean hands and surfaces regularly. If you're not well, make sure you mask up and show some social conscience. Protect your friends and family and neighbours. And if you're a health and social care worker and you're still using NHS lateral flow tests, please submit your results. Use guys live in your communities. And we need to be able to track this through our communities. That's it for the day, folks. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. Prime Minister's questions will be on the minute if Russia's back in the country. If no, I don't know who's going to take this place, because let's face it, Dominic Raab knows exactly in a good place at this point in time, is he? Catch you all tomorrow. We'll do it all again.